And welcome to Hannity. And tonight, straight ahead, we will bring you the very latest from the House of Representatives and the Speaker battle. Also, lowlights from Joe Biden's very alarming interview on CBS in 60 Minutes. Let's say, in a word, the president looks unwell, but apparently will soon travel to Israel. But first, we start with a Fox News alert. It is 9 p.m. on the East Coast, 6 p.m. on the West Coast. It is 4 a.m. in Gaza. All eyes are once again on the Gaza Strip, where we are just 1 week removed from the worst terrorist attack in Israel's history. Now the number has gone up. 1,400 were killed in just one day. If you adjust for population, that is roughly equal to over 37,000 Americans murdered right here if we were to compare populations. Babies, we know they were set on fire. We know many were beheaded. We know women were raped. We know entire families brutalized in their own homes. Nearly 300 Israelis and Americans, including men, women, and children, were kidnapped by the terrorist group Hamas. They are now being held hostage inside of Gaza. One-year-old babies in captivity, locked up by terrorists in underground tunnels. Now, videos of Hamas terrorists with the hostages, including infants, being put on the internet. Why? Just to torture family members in Israel. But now, frankly and predictably, some in the mob and the media, they are complaining that Israel, the victim of this terror attack, that they're the ones that are being inhumane. Really? Take a look.
Now, look, Israel is not Russia. Gaza is not Ukraine. It's a different situation. But cutting off supplies, cutting off heat, cutting off water to civilians, what's the difference?
Well, first, thank you for saying that Israel is not Russia, because Israel is not Russia.
But
second,
civilians are civilians, Jake.
We are in constant contact.
And Fake Jake is not particularly bright. How about the hostages, Fake Jake? If Hamas, let's say, if they return the 300 innocent men, women, children that they're now putting on the internet and videos that were abducted, then maybe Israel can turn the lights on and the water back on, because if they turn it on for the people of Gaza, they're turning it on for Hamas. And by the way, this electricity and water that Israel provides to Gaza, because Hamas was more interested in using international aid, hundreds of millions of dollars, to build tunnels and rockets rather than power plants, hospitals, schools, infrastructure. That is on them. And for the record, the water is flowing into southern Gaza, where Israel has instructed civilians to flee so they can be safe, with texts, with airdrop leaflets, and other forms of communication. But Hamas, what are they doing, Jake? They are blocking the Palestinians from escaping in order to use them as human shields. But you got Fake Jake, you got Fake News CNN, wrong as per usual. And while Israel tries to avoid human casualties, Hamas looks to inflict pain and death on as many innocent Israelis and Palestinians as possible. They shoot their rockets from schools and from hospitals. Why? Because they know that if Israel strikes back, that innocent civilians are killed. They hide behind human shields all the time. Hamas can then score a cheap PR victory with the media mob. War is terrible. Yes, there are innocent people that suffer. There is collateral damage, as we call it. It is tragic. It is unnecessary. It is evil in our time. And Hamas will do everything that they can do to exacerbate that suffering. Every single death in this conflict can be blamed on Hamas and their supporters in Iran. Because of last week's brutal terror attack, Israel has no choice. They must defend their country. They must defend their lives and wage total war against Hamas so they can no longer use Gaza in close proximity to Israeli cities as a launching ground for the tens and tens of thousands of rockets over the years they have fired into Israel. And by the way, that goes for anyone else that threatens their existence. Take a look.
There are those voices there across this region and elsewhere who say the price of military action is too great, that too many civilians are now dying, too many Palestinians are already dying.
We're in a full war here, and the responsibility isn't on us. You should take that question straight back to Hamas. We are here because we have no other choice.
Now, if Hamas actually cared about the lives of innocent Palestinians, guess what? They could surrender right now. War will be over. Now, of course, they don't really care about the well-being of their fellow Palestinians. And come to think of it, despite all the widespread protests, no one in the Arab world really seems to care about the fate of those innocent Palestinians. Not one Arab country, not one, has been willing to open their doors to Palestinian refugees, women and children even. Not Egypt, right next door, not Syria, not Iraq, not the ultra-wealthy, Gulf states like Oman and Saudi Arabia, nor has the Islamic Republic of Iran. They're not opening their doors either. And meanwhile, here at home and in Europe, massive so-called pro-Palestinian protests are ongoing. But no one at these protests is calling on Hamas to put down their arms, stop committing these acts of terror, surrender, and no one is calling for Hamas to return the hostages. There are no chants or prayers for the families that are murdered inside of southern Israel, or the babies burned alive or beheaded. Some actually praising Hamas and their brutal terrorist tactics. These protests are not about freedom or humanity. It's about ethnic nationalism and, of course, hating the, quote, Jewish people. After Hamas called for the day of jihad worldwide last Friday, anti-Semitic attacks exploding all over the world. Virulent anti-Semitism on display. In Belgium, a terrorist killed 2 people earlier tonight near a Sweden-Belgium soccer match, which is now suspended. Public officials are now calling on all citizens to avoid unnecessary travel. In Berlin, city officials there instructing the Jewish people there to hide symbols that actually represent their faith. What decade is this? For their own safety. And in the United States, according to NBC News, law enforcement is now stepping up patrols of synagogues and Jewish houses of worship and businesses as calls for attacks in our country intensify online. At the very same time, illegal immigrants from the Middle East, we now are learning, are attempting to sneak into our country, quote, in the Rio Grande Valley sector. Officials there, get this, they have apprehended 19 Iranians, 17 Syrians just since Monday. The U.S.-Mexican border is a long way from Syria, a long way from Iran. So who are they? How did they get here? Who paid for their trip? Why are they here? And there are growing concerns among some experts that terrorist sleeper cells are currently already operating inside our country, thanks to Joe's open borders policies. Now 7.5 illegal immigrants, no vetting at all, 99%, by the way, just so happen to be let into the country, and only a mere 1% is told to return. Look, what are they doing? They're taking advantage of Joe's wide open borders. He's aiding and abetting the process. And thanks to your president, Joe Biden, our country is in extreme danger. But let not your heart be troubled, right? Because soon Joe is going to be headed to Israel, according to Anthony Blinken, winking Blinken. But whatever comes from Biden's trip to Israel, the terror attack in Israel last week, it must be a lesson. And that is that we do not live in a bubble. Intelligence is far from perfect. We cannot expect to be safe and secure with unsecured borders, especially on our south. We'll check in with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis in just a minute. Also breaking tonight, the battle for House Speaker, that is coming to a head. Will Jim Jordan clear the 217-vote threshold after tomorrow's first transparent vote? Because when they're in conference, they get to vote anonymously. Because this is an important vote. And why is it a shock to certain lawmakers and members of the media mob, all of you out there, that yours truly, a member of the press, is daring to ask elected representatives, the so-called public servants in this country, if and when they plan to wrap up this speaker battle and reopen the People's House amid growing chaos, both at home and abroad? I have a lot more to say on this later. But I do have to chuckle that a few of my questions, simple questions, that I asked to some Republicans over the weekend about the importance of getting a speaker as soon as possible showed we have a few sensitive little snowflakes in Congress. Here's the truth. They are the majority. They need to act like it. No deals with the Democrats, and that would mean, no temporary solutions either. Elect a speaker, Get the House open and start doing your job. The good news is the anonymous votes end tomorrow, and we will know and we will see which Republicans understand what is the importance of this moment in history, not only for the Republican Party, for them to unite, them to lead by reopening the People's House while we have war in the Middle East and war in Europe and open borders and serious budget deadlines. No, I offer no apologies for doing my job and seeking answers from those elected public servants. Again, key word, servants of we, the people. We'll have more on this coming up. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.